Hey everyone! ChatGPTaylor aka Taylor here. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is something a little bit different. You might recall that a few weeks ago, I sent out a poll asking you all for feedback on what video you wanted to see me do for my 1-year anniversary as a YouTube content creator. And while the replying to your comments video got the most votes, I promised that because the Q&A video still got a lot of votes, that I would also be doing that video in the near future. Well, the future is now. Because today, I will be answering some of the questions that you've commented to me over the last few weeks. Hopefully this video will give you all a better idea of who I am and what I'm thinking for the future of this channel. And with that, let's get started. Before I begin, make sure to like and subscribe if this video is to your liking, and make sure to comment down below if there's anything that you would like to see going forward. The first question comes courtesy of TommyDrac9719. They're asking if I plan to make videos about total drama or if I'm going to keep going with this venture camp. I'll start with this. I still plan on making these venture camp videos. I still like the show, I still enjoy making videos about the show, and I still have more video ideas related to this venture camp, so I'm definitely not stopping anytime soon. That being said, I do want to try and branch out and cover more shows, likely still related to total drama in some way. However, I don't know if I'm going to start covering total drama on the show, and this is mainly due to copyright concerns. I'm not the most knowledgeable on copyright, but because Total Drama is owned by a large company, there's always the chance that they could send out copyright claims for me using their images and footage. Fun fact, aside from the images and footage used from these venture camp episodes, I do my best to make sure that all the images that I use are public domain. I'm not as worried about copyright for this venture camp because they've generally been okay with YouTube creators creating content off their show, but for a company as large as Total Drama's parent company, I feel like that risk is increased, and I'd rather not deal with that headache. So yes, I'll still do these venture camp videos, I might do total drama videos in the future, but I won't promise anything. Thanks for the question, though. Up next, we have a comment from Immortal Empire Skiing, who has several questions. Their first question asks about what would happen if Lake won Season 2 or Season 3, and who would support her in these timelines. This is interesting because I'm pretty sure that out of all the what-if scenarios I've done on my channel, Lake has never advanced to the Season 2 finale. But off the top of my head, and with a very superficial analysis, the most likely scenario where Lake advances to the finals is if Rhea doesn't find the team swapper to switch Yul and Rosa Maria's teams in Episode 4. This would mean that James and Aiden get voted out in the pre-merge, Yul loses to Lake in a tiebreaker in Episode 7, Rosa might get blindsided in Episode 8 if Rhea doesn't warn her about the votes going towards her, Hunter and Ali are voted out as a close duo in Episode 9, Maggie is voted out in Episode 10 as a physical threat, and Tess is voted out after losing to Carol in a tiebreaker in Episode 11, leaving Lake, Rhea, and Carol as the final three. In this scenario, I think Lake is guaranteed to have at least 3 supporters, which are Kai, Rosa Maria, and Maggie. I think Kai supports Lake since they seem to have decent interactions in canon, while Rosa Maria and Maggie definitely support Lake due to their friendship alliance. I think Connor definitely supports Rhea due to their close bond, but I think everyone else is a toss-up. For Yul, I think he could go in any direction. He didn't seem to have the highest opinion of Rhea since she was the last outsider on his team, and he also didn't seem to like Carol too much, based on his menopause comment towards her in the season premiere. And even though Yul laughed at Lake a lot for her boldness, I think he would be willing to vote for her depending on how much he hates Carol and Rhea. For James and Aiden, this depends on how much they hate Carol and how much of a grudge they hold against Lake for voting them out. If James can recognize that he screwed up by not working with Carol in Episode 2, then I could see him and Aiden voting for Carol. But if James still holds a grudge and Aiden is scared of facing Carol's rage, I could see them voting for Lake due to her kindness. But if they're upset that she voted them out, they could vote for Rhea since she didn't really hurt them in this timeline. It's a real toss-up. And for Hunter, Tess, and Ali, I think it depends on how grateful they are to Carol for giving them immunity in Episode 8, and how grateful they are to Lake for voting with Tess in Episode 11. If they hold some strong gratitude towards either of them, then they vote for either of them. If not, they vote for Rhea. So overall, in the scenario where Lake makes it to the Season 2 finale, Lake has at least 3 supporters, with a maximum of 9. I don't know who wins in this scenario, but this is definitely something that I'm willing to let play out in a future video. So keep an eye for that one in the near future. As for Season 3, I don't know if I can answer the question because I have no clue about how Lake could make it to the end. I suspect that the most likely scenarios start with either the all-female alliance on the Cyan team sticking together, or Tess tying the vote in Episode 3 and Lake beating Ellie in a tiebreaker. And I don't think Lake makes it to the end in either scenario. Without going into too much detail, if the all-female alliance sticks together, Lake gets taken out in Episode 9 after Ellie defects to the villains alliance at the 2-team elimination ceremony. And in the scenario where Lake beats Ellie in a tiebreaker in Episode 3, everything ends up being really messy and there are way too many assumptions that I have to make to play out that scenario. But even after brute forcing the analysis and giving Lake the benefit of doubt in every scenario, Lake's best shot of making it to the end requires her to win immunity at the final 4 against Ashley, Tom, and Jake. And considering how close those 3 are, they probably pile all their shocks on her, forcing Lake to lose. So I don't think it's very possible for Lake to make it to the finale, making it impossible for her to get supporters since she's not a finalist. Thanks again for the question, but I don't see myself making a video on this scenario anytime soon. Just too many question marks. Now for Immortal Empire's King's second question. It asks me what shows I like other than Total Drama and this venture camp. They also threw in a guess of crime-themed shows, action movies, and reality game shows. I don't watch many shows, but when I do, it's usually related to reality competition shows. So stuff like Survivor and Big Brother are things that I like to watch, and when I'm looking at game shows, stuff like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy are my ideal picks. I don't really watch crime-themed shows, but there was this one reality competition show that I watched called Whodunit, where the contestants had to solve a murder mystery in each episode, and I really liked that. So I guess you were a bit correct on that one. As for movies, I don't really watch a lot of action movies. My type of movies is probably something dramatic or something that showcases a lot of emotion or relationships. Like Titanic or something like that. But for the most part, you're right. I like reality game shows and some crime shows. Thanks for the question. On to the third question. It asks what would happen if James and Aiden were the first 2 eliminated from Season 3, and whether or not Lake would be able to avenge them. I'm not fully convinced that she can do that, just based on the earlier scenario I mentioned where the all-female alliance sticks together. In that case, Lake makes it to episode 9 at best, where she probably gets voted out. That's all I can say right now, but don't worry, I'll consider making a video on this at some point. Thanks for the question. Their final question asks about what would happen and what changes would be made if Jake, Aiden, and Ali became villains in their own individual scenarios. Without going into too deep of an analysis, I suspect that Jake's villainy would be fueled by jealousy, which the actual villains alliance would gladly take advantage of. It would start at the final 10, and eventually, his blinded rage against Aiden and Ali would end with him taking them out, but Jake would subsequently be betrayed by the actual villains alliance, because now they no longer need him to maintain the majority. This probably ends with a Rhea victory or a Gret victory. As for Aiden, his motivations would likely stem from him wanting to play his own game, especially since I remember seeing people in the community claim that Aiden just rode James's coattails for all of Season 2. In this scenario, his game probably revolves around flipping back and forth to try and ruin as many people's games as possible. This includes flipping at the final 7 to eliminate Ali, flipping back at the final 6 to get Jake and Connor to help him blindside Rhea, with help from Connor's immunity totem, getting Jake to join him and Gret in blindsiding Alec to ensure that Connor stays close with Aiden and Jake, getting Gret out at the final 4, and Jake probably ends up winning, which Aiden is probably still happy about. And for Ali, there's really not much time for Ali to become a villain. And even if she does, not much changes in canon. She still blindsides Aiden at the final 7, ends up being shocked at Alec's elimination at the final 6, flips again to stop Gret from controlling the game, and Connor still quits at the final 4. The only way to make her more villainous is if she doesn't come back to save Jake in the caves at the final 3. So in conclusion, Jake becomes blinded with jealousy and ends up being taken advantage of by the real villains, Aiden ends up flipping back and forth and probably becomes the runner-up, and Ali pretty much stays the same as in canon, except she doesn't save Jake from the caves in the final 3. Thanks for the questions. Moving on, we have some questions from Shiro Gwyn. Let's start with the first one, which asks for who my favorite character is in each season. For Season 1, I guess it would be Fiori. Fiori ran circles around everyone else in that season. A combination of her strategic mindset, deceptive appearance, having Alec wrapped around her finger, and a lack of morals allowed her to pull off some big moves. This includes turning her team against Will by accusing him of yelling at her, eliminating both Lil and Ashley at one ceremony, getting Tom to misplay his immunity totem, and keeping the spotlight off of her and Alec all the way to the final 4. It really made me enjoy her character. For Season 2, it has to be Lake. Her story in that season was extremely relatable to me and it really made me connect to her in that season. I even said in one of my tier list videos that Lake was my favorite camper of all time, and that's still true to this day. There are a lot of reasons for me to like Lake. Her great character development combined with her kindness makes her a pretty easy person to like, and it even made me put her higher in my All Stars My Way video even though I knew that she didn't have much of a story left. But regardless of that, she's not only my favorite camper in Season 2, but my favorite camper of all time. For Season 3, this is going to be a really shocking pick, but I have my reasons for it. My favorite camper from Season 3 is Tess. And the reason why Tess is my favorite camper from this season is because Tess was largely isolated from the drama, and that really felt like a breath of fresh air when you look at how dramatic the season was. Between Jake being overly jealous and short-sighted, Ali being evil out of complete spite, Rhea flipping back and forth between being evil and guilt-ridden, and Connor falling back in love with Rhea. Having someone like Tess who tries to keep the peace and support some of the others is really refreshing. You can call her a support character all you want, and I've certainly called her a support character myself, but that doesn't mean I don't like her. I'm glad that she was in this season, and she's definitely my favorite camper from this season. And for season 4, I know it's early, but I'm going to say that Logan is my favorite character. He just seems really sweet, and he brings a bit of a comic relief through his personality. I'm still rooting for him to make it far in season 4, even though I'm not sure if that will happen. Thanks for the question. The second question from Shiro Gwyn asks what my favorite challenge from this venture camp is. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure my favorite challenge is the music challenge from episode 6 of season 3. All the VAs did a great job, the songs were pretty catchy, and I remember that this episode really breathed some life into the community and gave people a sense of optimism about the season, which felt really good. The vibes were just great after that challenge premiered. Thanks for the question. The third question from Shiro Gwyn asks me to pick which show is better between this venture camp and total drama. Now, the term better is very subjective and it can depend on a variety of factors. One could be better in writing. One could be better in being entertaining. One could be better at making money. One could be better at attracting their niche of the viewer market. There's so many ways to define the term better in this context. But let's be honest. I have to pick total drama on this one. This venture camp would not exist if total drama did not exist first. And with all the awards that total drama has been nominated for and won over the years, combined with the viewership and money that total drama has brought in over the years, it would be really weird for me to say that this venture camp was better. Now, if you think that this venture camp is more entertaining, then that's perfectly fine. There are times when I'm more entertained by this venture camp than total drama. But by my definition of the word better, I have to give the edge to total drama on this one. Thanks for the question. And Shiro Gwyn's final question asks me what my favorite this venture camp ship is. This one took a bit of thought because we've seen quite a few ships on this show. But after some thought, I have my pick, and it's probably going to be a bit surprising. Surprisingly enough, my favorite ship from this venture camp is Ashley and Will. Yeah, I know that they haven't had a lot of screen time, but I really like how the two of them bring out the best in each other and have helped each other out since becoming a couple. Ashley helped Will overcome a lot of his fears and allowed him to move in with her on her farm, while Will helped Ashley on the farm and kept watch over it while Ashley went to compete on All Stars. Their wholesome bond is part of the reason why I said in a previous video that I want to see a spin-off series focusing on their relationship. Don't get me wrong, there are some elements of James and Aiden, Gabby and Ellie, and even Tom and Jake that I like, but the wholesomeness of Ashley and Will really puts them on top for me. Thanks for the questions, Shiro Gwyn. Next, we have a two-part question from the boys, who asks what my favorite what if video is out of the ones I've made so far, and whether or not I'll make a what if video on season 1. To answer the first part of the question, my favorite what if video that I've done is probably the one where I talked about what would have happened if Rhea didn't steal Rosa's totem in episode 10 of season 2. The reason why this one is my favorite is because I always felt like this move was a mistake for Rhea, since getting rid of Rosa killed an ally that probably wouldn't have turned against her. And just like I outlined in the video, Rhea could have still acted villainous by guilting Rosa into thinking that she needed to do something to earn back her trust. So I was really interested in seeing how the season could have played out had Rhea not made the mistake of blindsiding Rosa. Now for the second part of the question. Will I make a what if video on season 1? Well, I have a few ideas on my list for some what if videos about season 1, and I'm sure that I'll get to them at some point. I'm actually a little surprised that I haven't done any for season 1 yet, but I know that I'll get to it at some point. Thanks for the questions, the boys. Next, we have some questions from Chris B and Gamer, all of which are about the beta season of this venture camp, also known as Total Drama Adventure. I'll be completely honest, I don't think I've watched the beta season in its entirety. I've definitely seen the episodes from the final 4 and onwards, and I've seen some parts of the earlier episodes, like when Fiore confronts Will in the canoe. But other than that, I actually haven't watched it. I generally liked what I saw, and I was still entertained by it, so there's that, I suppose. As for my favorite elements of it, I think my favorite parts mostly involve Fiore, such as when Fiore confronted Will, when Fiore tricked Gret with the fake idol, and when Fiore was thrown by Jake up to the flagpole. I was definitely hoping for that to happen when episode 12 of the actual season 1 came around, and I was not disappointed at all by it. I should probably watch the beta season in full when I get to it. For the changes that I like the most, I guess I'm happy that they eliminated Nick a little earlier. From what I've heard about the beta series at the time that it was released, it seems like it became a bit of a meme that Nick made it all the way to the final 4 without doing much, so it was a good idea to eliminate him earlier. I'm also glad that Drew and Alec were added to the canon season, since those two became fan favorites and were entertaining in their own way. Good choices by Odd Nation Cartoons on this one. And finally, do I plan to make videos about the beta season in the near future? I'm not entirely sure. I think if I do end up watching the whole season, it will give me some ideas for videos. Right now, I can probably think of 2 video ideas off the top of my head, but it could be more if I do end up watching the full season. So no promises, but maybe. Thanks for the questions, Chris B and Gamer. Our penultimate question is from Jean Cola, who says that they want to make content like me and are asking for tips. Well, I have 3 big tips for people that are thinking of creating content online. Tip number 1. Make videos that you want to make. From my experience, when you make videos that you want to make, it becomes a lot easier to make them. Sure, some people will become famous by making gaming videos, or beauty vlogs, or YouTube shorts about trying different kinds of fast food. But if you don't enjoy making those kinds of videos, it's going to become really hard to post videos because you won't be motivated to create them in the first place. It's important to figure out what kinds of videos that you want to make and make sure that every video you post on your channel is something that you can be proud of. It won't stave off burnout forever, but it will at least make this whole adventure more enjoyable. Tip number 2. Don't expect to become famous right away. I know that some people have a dream about becoming a famous social media celebrity through their content and having millions of followers or subscribers and all that. But that kind of success does not happen overnight. Very rarely can someone go from complete obscurity to mainstream fame, and I hope that more people know that. When I started creating content, I never once had it in mind that I would become famous one day. And even now, I'm well aware that I'm not famous. I'm not even famous in this community, let alone on YouTube. But that's perfectly okay. I didn't start posting because I wanted to be famous. I started posting because I wanted to create content about a show that I like. That's it. So if you do decide to post content, don't let the dream of becoming famous take over your life, because for most people, that dream stays a dream forever. And tip number 3. Don't overcommit to something that you're not sure of. This is mostly towards the amount of content that you post. I know that there are a lot of channels out there that can post daily videos. But that doesn't mean that you have to. Some people physically can't post daily, and that's perfectly okay. I can barely post 1 video per week, and I've accepted that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with posting a couple times a month. And it's not worth forcing yourself to post videos all the time if it takes a toll on your physical and mental health. That's why it's important to find a pace that works best for you. At the end of the day, becoming a content creator should be fun and exciting. And if posting once or twice a month is enough for you to have fun, then that's all that matters. Thanks for the question, Jean Cola. And best of luck if you decide to post videos. And finally, we have one more question from Connor Green, who asks if there's something that I want to tell the viewers that I haven't had the opportunity to. This is a really deep question and I really had to reflect on this one. And there are 2 things that I would like to say. One of them is pretty serious, and the other one is pretty silly. Let's start with the silly one. I've probably never brought this up before, but I love performing. Specifically in singing-related performances. It's probably one of the reasons why the music challenge from episode 6 of season 3 is my favorite challenge in this venture camp. I actually used to be in a little singing group when I was younger, but that's a whole other story. Now, the reason why this is a little silly is because I've always dreamed of making an original song based on a show. But it wouldn't be by myself. It would be a collaboration with a group of people, where we would each pick a character from the same show to portray, we would each write a verse related to that character, and we would link them together with some sort of chorus or hook to make it a whole song. It could involve singing, rap, or a mix of both, depending on who is on the song. If you've seen the condescended diss track from Silly Billy and Spilled Ink, then it would sort of be something like that, except with maybe 5 people. It just seems like a really fun idea to do. It allows a group of fans to collaborate on something new, and we get to make something great for a show that we love, all while making something entertaining for the community. But there are 2 main reasons why I haven't really stepped forward to make this kind of video. The first reason is because I don't really have people to collaborate with, so that definitely makes things difficult. But the second reason is because I'm not at all experienced in music production. Although I was once a part of a singing group, I was way more involved in the songwriting than the actual music composition and vocal mixing, so that kind of squashes my hopes. Who knows? Maybe one day I could make this happen, but it's probably not happening anytime soon. But now for the serious note. I want to say that I'm extremely grateful for the support and engagement that I've gotten on my videos over the last year. I know that I don't really interact a lot with all of you, and that's further hindered by the fact that I use an AI voice to narrate my videos rather than my own voice. But I do hope that you all know that I'm truly grateful that I've been able to create content for a year and counting, and that you all have been here to join me on this journey. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. And that about does it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I've been wanting to connect more with all of you as a YouTube content creator, and I hope that going forward, we can keep this community going strong. Either way, please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like the video, click subscribe if you really like the video, and for some ending words of wisdom. Whenever you're told to ask questions, make sure you're asking the right ones, because asking the wrong questions will get you the answers that you're probably not looking for. Thank you, and farewell.